project. We know that Oxfam works clearly on issues of inequality and fighting and ending poverty. And in my own reasoning, I think digital inequality is a very, very big roadblock towards equality. So until we achieve digital inclusion and later on be able to build the capacities of everyone to be able to occupy the space, the digital space, meaningfully, then it means that our efforts to fight inequality will actually defeat the purpose. So getting brains in this room to think through of how we can actually solve the problem of ensuring that there is digital inclusion, for me, I find it very, very key, and I'm sure the technical leaders are going to give us the best of what we require to see of the intervention that we have here. And we know that we live in a digital world, but we are fairly analog creatures, and clearly that's what it is. I want to give a small cursory. We have been looking for land for the last 3 months, a friend and myself, looking for land in Uganda. But you get analog blockers who take you to very far area, you go here, spend money, nothing, go there. We spend like 2 months looking for land. Then all of a sudden, the digital in me came out and said, but can't we get land using online platforms? My God, when I went online, searches were like 10,000 of them, and all the land we were looking for were now choosing, this one is better. In just a space of 2 days, we were able to get what we wanted, and the transaction was done. So that tells me that digital space is something that we have to embrace, and it has lots of opportunities that actually we think we have to promote the rights of people who are using the digital space, because it is very beneficial all. But I think Philip will also agree with me that the rights, the digital rights we want to talk about, have their responsibilities as well. So be able to ensure that we fulfill, we promote the rights, and people are able to meet the obligations of the bargain, and then we are able to improve the status quo. I want to welcome everyone to this dialogue, to the launch of this important intervention. I'm sure that we have other dignitaries that will be coming in. The Honorable Minister, I can see some keynote speakers will be jetting in. We hope that the few hours we shall be in this room are going to be very, very fruitful and are going to guide our implementation, our intervention going forward. Lastly, I want to, on a light note, I feel I wanted to leave it out, but it cannot go. We have 2 birthday big boys in this room. The August babies. One of them is our country director, Francis. His birthday is today. And another one is Charles, the Resilient Livelihoods Manager, Charles Opio, is also. So I want to ask Hood to lead us to sing for them 1 minute, the birthday song, to say happy birthday, then we kickstart. Yeah, it has to be light moment all through, not seriousness all the time. Yes.
Now, Siraj, how did you know that I have a voice fitting for a birthday song? And not to kill the mood, I would hope that my voice would soothe you through, and all our voices would soothe you through the celebrations. So the normal song that we normally sing, to you, Francis, and to you, Charles. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Francis and Charles. Happy birthday to you.
All the best.
Yeah.
Yes. On top of the initial terms of reference, yes, it was good to get those laughters out of us because it's very important. On top of the earlier terms of reference I had, Hood has also added me yet another terms of reference which I have accepted to undertake, and I've been asked to invite the country director to come and give his remarks, opening remarks. Over to you, Francis. You're welcome.
Oh, what a special day. I have been recentered properly. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, friends, for the very warm birthday wishes. And thank you, Sarah, for the gift of a piece of some sweets. I have kept it in my pocket, so I'll keep it among the birthday gifts. Good morning, colleagues. I hope that we are all in good shape as we come today for the inception launch of the Recentering the Civic Internet through Partner Engagement Project, ReCIPE. It's 15th of August, and my friend there, Charles Opio, happy birthday to you. An Opio in where I come from means he's a twin. So I am glad to have you as my twin brother on this day. All protocols observed. Our friends who have come from far away, my sister Sarah Birete, and all the people who have joined us here today. I'm really honored that today we are here convening for this inception launch of the Recentering the Civic Internet through Partner Engagement Project, which is an initiative centered on the transformative potential of digital technologies in Uganda. I think if we reflect back to not too many years ago, if somebody starts talking about digital transformation, it would sound quite alien. But nowadays, this is the thing. And for us at Oxfam, we are extremely grateful for the partnerships that we are having in Uganda, and especially with Center for Constitutional Governance, led by Sarah, that we will be working together with her and the team to deliver this very important project. We're very grateful to the funders, that is the European Union, that is providing us with this funding. It's a 3-year project that we'll be implementing here in Uganda. And for the people who may not know very well about Oxfam, and I always joke about this, that Oxfam is an elder in Uganda. We have been here since the 1960s. So that means if somebody was born in 1960, by any standard, that is an elder, whether male or female, or whatever you are. You are an elder in that sense. So we're really grateful and for all the partnerships that we have enjoyed down the years. In Uganda, we work in so many parts of the country, delivering transformative programs that focuses on dealing with inequalities of different forms. It is through transformative gender justice work, accountable governance, resilient livelihoods, humanitarian preparedness and response. Our greatest focus area is at the greater humanitarian responses we engage anywhere in the country. Our modes of operation is mainly working in partnerships, whether with the local government, with civil societies organizations, NGOs and CBOs, and there are many in the country. This project directly contributes to our strategic objectives of advancing inclusive and accountable governance systems that promotes the rights of vulnerable people, and broadly to our commitment of advancing equal access to resources such as technology, knowledge, opportunities necessary to thrive in an ever-evolving world. When I speak to the younger generation of this country, I always learn something new. More recently, I learned about something called AI. I didn't know, I thought it was something that works, something that comes around and I could see. They told me, yes, it could be so, but that it has been around for a long time. I thought it was new. And they started pointing out to me how I have already been using some of them unknowingly. So the world is evolving. Unfortunately, not everybody is moving at the same pace. I'm told in Uganda, the internet is only reaching just over 13.3 million Ugandans that have access to the internet, and the rest of them are still in the shadows. So in terms of the digital transformation, we still have a long way to go. And unfortunately, just like my brother Siraji has mentioned, it is very easy these days to transact business, to influence, and to engage change if you are having access and knowledge to digital technologies. Now, this is how inequality can widen in a very simple way. Our aunties, our uncles, and our brothers who are deep in the village and do not have access to internet can only hear through rumors about certain things and learn through rumors. And they won't have access to the information that unfortunately is hidden somewhere in the clouds. And that means they miss out on opportunities for progress, they miss out on opportunities for development, and they miss out on opportunities to influence and take part in decisions. Whatever has happened in Africa and around the world because of the digital transformation and how young people are having their voices heard, how older people are having their voices heard through digital transformation. It reminds me that this is an area that, unlike the traditional way that we were always engaging to fight inequality, we need to adapt and find a way so that we stay up to pace with this ever-changing technology. I always get concerned that there are certain categories of people, unfortunately, still remain behind because of structural inequalities that has been perpetuated by many other factors, such as patriarchy, such as colonization, and many others. And here, I will always remember the people who are lagging behind in terms of literacy, because for you to engage with these digital platforms and everything else, it's important that you have some level of literacy. In mind comes, unfortunately, our sisters, mothers. Of course, there are some moderate numbers of men. If you put, for example, people who have been displaced from their homes, maybe because of war, and it has been disrupted all the social systems have been disrupted in their countries. Borders, some countries will leap forward and leave others behind. It's not my day today to speak much, but just to say that the reason we are engaged in this area is that we have also learned from the government that this aligns very well with its commitment to digital transformation as outlined in its the Digital Vision Uganda 2040 and other related initiatives. So for us, knowing that we are an international organization, it's important that we align with the government of a particular state. But we also acknowledge that the various efforts that actors around the digital transformation have put in place can only be maximized if there is meaningful collaboration and partnerships. I would like, with the permission from Sarah, to just mention that even before this project, we have already been engaging in this area. Many of you who knows the TV, the Civic Space TV, you know that this is a result of a partnership that we have enjoyed between CCG and SAM, and many other digital examples that we have put in place. We know that this has had a lot of impact in ensuring that the youth can advance their interests, that other people who feel they are left behind in a very transparent and accountable way. Even in our refugee operation, digital technology, in the way we provide the water, sanitation, and hygiene, we've integrated that. So there are many reasons why we feel that this project has come at the right time, and I really want to once again appreciate our funders. We want to appreciate the Line Ministry, the Ministry of ICT and Telecommunications. I want to appreciate all the media companies and the legal sectors. Definitely there is a lot that will need to transform in the policies and the legal frameworks to ensure that we are well aligned. I really want to thank you all, welcome you to this conception meeting. I say this for God and my country. Thank you very much. I know that coming to remind me that in the spirit of the partnership that we have enjoyed, it would be my singular honor to invite my sister, Dr. Sarah Birete, who is the team lead or the executive director of CCG, to come and give us a remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francis, for inviting me here. And the country director, staff of Oxfam, our partners, the European Commission, and the EU in Uganda, invited guests, my colleagues from and the Civic Space TV, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great opportunity for us at the Center for Constitutional Governance, entering Civic Internet through Partner Engagement Project, ReCIPE. Briefly about CCG, we are proud to be associated with the project and the work we do with Oxfam Uganda and Oxfam International. We are a watchdog, a constitutional watchdog, whose mission is to make the Constitution a people's document through citizens' engagement, CSO partner engagement, actors, as well as regional and international organizations. We have a few flagship programs that include the Civic Space TV for amplifying citizens' voices in governance, university engagements on constitutionalism through the Hope Initiative program in 25 universities in Uganda, a constitutional museum, virtual constitutional museum as our knowledge hub for constitutionalism, a one-stop center for constitutional knowledge of Uganda since Uganda became a British protectorate in 1894. A constitutional academy for on constitutional governance. And we have a civic space incident tracking app, thanks to the partnership again. This civic space app tracks civic space incidences in Uganda in a timely manner and generates georeference reports for tracking human rights violations and other civic space incidences. 60% of our work, and we know that the future is digital. It's also important to note that for anyone to build a strong foundation for good governance in Uganda, they must have a bigger focus of young people who compose 73% of our population according to preliminary results from the 2024 Population and National Housing Census report. We are aware of the challenges. 30% internet access in Uganda is below average globally. We are aware of the factors that bring us to this 30% internet, socioeconomic factors, as well as limited infrastructure. And we hope join us. We shall get an update on how to address. Specifically for gender, we have a big gender divide when it comes to internet access. 73% of women are unable to access internet as men. This is very huge, and it should be mitigated if we are to attain equality and equal footing in the digital future in Uganda. This initiative is not just about technology, but about reaffirming our collective commitment to a more inclusive, equitable, and community-focused internet. The digital landscape has immense potential to enhance civic life, and through strategic collaborations with our partners, we aim to harness that potential to benefit all citizens. Our goal is to bring together diverse voices, resources, and expertise to ensure that the internet remains a space where civic but thrive. By engaging with a wide range of stakeholders, as it has been mentioned in the project and will be mentioned further, and implement strategies that prioritize the public good, foster digital literacy, and promote active participation in on. This project.
Another round of applause. Yeah, from those submissions, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Philip Kabuye. Yes, Mr. Philip Kabuye is the policy advisor for civic engagement and digital rights at Oxfam. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Hood. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Sarah has described the protocol. In all my prayers, I always don't want to struggle with that. So thank you, Dr. Sarah. Protocol observed. It's a pleasure being here today. Hood can properly understand. But hearing the birthday twin talk, Dr. Sarah talk, it threw me back in 2017 at a moment. By then we were launching a digital platform called I Paid a Bribe. And we had so many, it became a contentious topic of discussion. And because it involved a component of working with police, building that collaboration, someone asked me, do you see any police officer on the road with a smartphone? Of course, by then we had smartphones, but not police officers. Now, today, I might, it's not even 10 years. That question is already reversed. Do you see any police officer on the road without a smartphone? And that's the power of digitization. During that partnership, I saw very many interesting things happen, because it was very solid with the Uganda Police Force. And by then, I think we still have the corruption perception index. We used to have a report every day, and police was #1 in Uganda. And getting such an institution to join you on such a space that is fighting corruption, it was turning one against their own. But together, a lot was done, and I believe the ripple effect continues. During that time, again, there was a project called the Civic Charter. You remember? Yes. And the interesting thing about the Civic Charter is it was very explicit on people's freedoms, expression, speech, assembly, but also inviting the state actors to ensure that they take their mandate, their duty to protect citizens as they enjoy their rights. Simple as it looks for us, it doesn't come out that easily on the other side of police. As you know, we've seen so many discussions happen, especially when we have protests going on within the city. But then, and I do remember, Dr. Sarah, you were present at that meeting at Africana with the late AIGP, Andrew Felix Kawesi, Ochoma, and others. And they came to affirm that police believes in this, and they want to add their signature to the Civic Charter. That was very interesting. But very interesting for me because it comes from a point of partnership, embracing partnership. Francis has talked about the partnership with CCG and the Civic Space TV. The other day I was talking with Hood on phone, and I was telling him one of the beauties of this project and working with CCG is on the Civic Space TV, they are always inviting the stakeholders that we want to work with on this project. So that is a huge advantage that this project should leverage to build greater things. Yesterday, when I was going to sleep, many times I watch a series called Seinfeld. And the other day, I saw Seinfeld himself. It is an old series, but the guy is now about 70 years or so. He's a comedian, an American comedian. And the other day, I caught wind that he's actually funding the genocide in the OPT. And I was like, what? So, and for the moment, I was like, for the moment, until I get time to look into Seinfeld, I get you off my watch list. So, and I've been struggling a bit finding, I'm so used to watching an episode before I sleep. So yesterday, I just thought, what are those trending tech developments in the world today? And of course, AI tops the discussion. But what interested me the most is the aspect of quantum computing. Now leveraging quantum mechanics to process information. these computers are going to be very fast. They're going to be very fast. Or they are very fast. And I kept thinking of, if this is the rate at which technology is evolving, then what does it mean for security? You know, many times when we are out there talking about security, put a strong password. Yeah, put ABCD. And you wonder how long. We've had supercomputers, and now when we go with quantum computing, I have no idea how fast these are going to be. But maybe the most important thing is, how do we prepare ourselves to make sure that as these advancements come through, we are also moving with the trend. I have a cousin, and God, that guy has liked Bitcoin from way back. And the other day he was telling me, I can't pull out my money right now. It is not a good time. You know, Bitcoin at some moment hit 70,000 USD, one Bitcoin. And now it's going lower. If I pull out, I make losses. I can't. But that's because the big investors withdrew their coins, traded it at a time when it had gone high. And I wanted to tell him, but now you, how much do you have, you, not to withdraw when the big players are pulling out. But then I go back and look at, it was very key for me. What is influencing, you know, the highs, the drops, the highs? And you realize that at the time when that went high, Bitcoin had been added to the electronic trading platforms in the US, ETFs. And then when you look at the last time we had these spikes, there was an involvement of Tesla in 2021, when Tesla bought about 1.5 billion shares, rather worth of coins, $1.5 billion. And then it went up. And so it was interesting for me how we keep evolving and investing into these technological advancements. Today, my cousin withdraws his Bitcoin through cheaper cash. Cheaper cash. I don't think that app is even 10 years old. If it is so old, it is about 10 years. Because I think I remember around the elections after the 2011 ones, that's 2016, is it? That's when cheaper cash was trying to break through. That's when they were so all over promoting, trying to use mobile money, if I remember very well and I'm not mistaken. And today, they have also embraced Bitcoin. So where do we stand as a country? On that forum, I got interested in looking at the number of jobs. The top 20 jobs in the world today. And of all the 20, 10 of them were directly technology related. Directly, data science, AI, whatever. And the other 10, of course, were using technology. You know, many of them being CEO. So, I don't know. The other birthday twin, I didn't see project officer. Yeah, but that's interesting. So, either way, for instance, all the previous speakers have talked about the aspect of literacy. And I liked that my brother Siraj hit on the aspect of digital inclusion. We've been having lots of discussions and traders on strikes over the IFRIS system. And I've seen URA on Twitter and everywhere explaining this is not a tax, this is not a tax, this is not a tax. But we've had a whole process of design, thinking through this process until a point of implementation. We didn't even think about pausing for a moment to do a user testing, to bring the people who are going to use this on board. And then we want to impart this on them. So when we are talking about digital inclusion, for me, it's not about just what is already finished. It also involves whatever we are thinking and how we bring it on board. I like Oxfam when it's building projects, like ReCIPE, for example. It wasn't just an Oxfam thing, sit, write, share, and, you know, get this money. CCG was involved, and whatever informed this involved a lot of engagements around communities that we live in. So this helps us to also have projects on board that are mitigating the challenges that we are facing today. And yeah, several challenges continue to come up with our Uganda today. The other day we saw Honorable Nyombi Tembo, the ED of UCC, trying to constituting an AI team, AI expert group, is it? Something like that. And there was a very contentious discussion online that where are the young people who are using technology on this body that has been constituted? And we kept seeing responses from UCC and all those that are working there saying the young people are also involved. You won't believe how many young people are involved in this. But so what happened on that day that the young people didn't come? Didn't they have transport? All the photos of everyone that came. And it puts me back, about 2 days back, Charles Onyango-Bo did a tweet, and he was saying it is interesting how our elders in the country that are not using social media or the internet, they have to get handlers and people to do for them most of the tech-related things, are telling youth to embrace technology, youth who are tech-savvy. So this speaks to how much we want to think on the aspect of inclusion. This speaks to how much we want to think about the big divide that continues to happen. There has been a good breakdown on the gender divide, and unless or until we start having meaningful discussions focused on this, we are going to keep lying to ourselves. I've been on panel discussions, and you know, when you're off a panel discussion, you LinkedIn, either people are connecting with you, you're connecting with the other panelists, and someone did AI law. AI law. So I think about it. I remember more than 10 years back when I was doing computer science at Makerere, we had a whole course unit on AI, good knowledge. But when I see AI law, I try to think, for you, when did you study this? It means this had been foreseen, it had been prepared, and now they are graduates. So where are we as a country? Again, this takes us back. At Oxfam, as a confederation, we have developed a Rights in a Digital Age policy framework. And the intention is to guide our work on rights in a digital age. And with this, we definitely recognize human rights in the context of a highly and equally, but globally connected and digitalized world. So, and we do realize that technology has also become deeply integrated into most of our everyday lives. So, this framework, this policy framework, is built on 5 pillars. One of them being access. The other looking at responsible data use and privacy. The other is looking at security, but also the digital civic space. The other is looking at automation and the future of work. Automation. The other birthday twin has an OB who has a farm in Gulu that is running with AI. So what does that mean for us and the future of work? And today I wanted to really focus on the fifth pillar, which is governance. Governance, and because under governance, we look at the other aspects of regulation. You know, governance involves working with the multiple stakeholders, and I was glad when I had Beatrice saying that is a core, Beatrice, right? Yeah. And that is a core aspect of this project. But somewhere when you said internet everywhere, you caught my sister Anna off guard. And she said, is there internet everywhere? I'm like, no, that's what they're advocating for. But why I'm looking at governance, when we look at examples of like automation and the possible impacts on our livelihoods or the livelihoods of everyone, the pace of AI development, the blockchains that are now being used beyond cryptocurrencies, and the potential threats this pose. We see very many deep fakes. You know, these days we see our president singing. Anytime you will see them singing, and Dr. Sarah will post and ask us, Bako Zebatia. So, while this has so many potential practical and valuable uses, also unchecked growth and lack of regulation are serious concerns. But there is still also a question of then how is the regulation done? I honestly wouldn't want to get into this discussion with Siraji of Uganda. He would break my bandwidth for the day. But the interesting thing is that when we come together, then we can look at so many aspects. And we get to realize the different angles through which everyone sees these moving pieces, and we can build it into one piece. During my time, the time I was working with Uganda Police, I wasn't a staff of Uganda Police. I've been in the NGO all my life. But the IGP now, Abbas Biakagaba, was the commandant, KMP. He used to sit at CPS. And one time we had a heated discussion with him in his office. It was myself and him, and it was about expression, right to protest. And he gave me a very simple example that I laughed about, but it has never gone off my head. He said, you see, you people want to say police has a duty to protect the lives and property. When the BCJ starts his walk to work, he climbs up on the car is moving, business is disrupted. If he falls down, that is a liability on our side. So he told me, I want you to think, how do we balance that? How do you keep your right to protest? And I also make sure that I'm protecting lives and the businesses. I have never stopped thinking about that. And it's revealed lots of interesting thoughts in me, some of which I implemented while working with the police. So, but when it comes to technology, it is also interesting. Uganda, we still have our Facebook closed, officially, though we see government agencies using it to communicate. So we believe we are still in the same pool. But are invested so much in the use of social media, for example. The other day, not the other day, it is yesterday, I create albums on my Google Photos. And I have an app on my phone that I don't allow to upload. I want to open it when I want to access the albums or properly share anything with someone. And now I can't use it unless I give it access to my gallery. What do you want my gallery for? My account is legitimate. I want to come and use what I have put there. But no, you have to allow access. And that is just very simple. But we have found ourselves in very many situations where we can't use a product or service simply because we have to agree to their terms. When you read the terms, they tell you, we are going to share this data with other third parties. Which third parties? They will never declare. So, how safe is our data? Countries, because Francis mentioned colonization as being very skeptical, but countries, when we look at like Europe with their GDPR that tries to give as much power as possible over data to the user, they now have a Digital Services Act that is trying to regulate how the internet players control you and your use of your own devices, which is interesting. Towards the end of last year, the UK did signed into law an Online Safety Act. And as talking to a friend, Karamaji, and Karamaji was saying, I was telling him the good thing about this law is that they are mandating the telecom companies, especially those that are giving us social media, to give us an option to define what we want to see. I don't know the last time you saw posts from your friends on Facebook, or how you struggle to get content that you want to follow on Twitter or the others. It is all algorithm based now. We were logging in, and what are your interests, you know? Politics, governance, tech. But the more you scroll, Tamale Mirundi has died. Sad. Then there is a trend, rest in peace. You go and you see other people that you don't even know. Then you come back, and because you've somehow been looking at those who have passed on, you have an obituary page. Your feed is obituary. Hey. So when do we have to come back to having meaningful discussions? That's what UK did in their Online Safety Act. Though a whole bit of that Safety Act, we had a time to look at it with Hood some months back, early this year. The whole bit gives power to a regulator called Ofcom. That even if you are a media company, you need to seek guidance from Ofcom on how you post, what you post, in a way creating direct censorship. And by the way, our discussion has come to pass. You see now UK is struggling with free speech. They've openly come out. We are going to do filtering across all social media, and we shall get whatever we find as hate or inciting. And people are going in prisons for that. Define hate, define inciting, no. That is to our discretion. So how we want to regulate, much as regulations are important, is also key. And if we want to influence, or if we want our voices to be heard on these aspects, then we need to come back. We need to come together with every stakeholder involved. So for me, it excites me today to see several stakeholders joining this discussion. And I hope this helps to bridge voices that are unheard. Every time I think about voices unheard and technology, my brain goes to a watch. There's a time I was in a watch, and we had to send certain things to Kampala. And we kept driving, I don't know how many kilometers back. Then we go back. Oh, you forgot this one. Okay, because also the person there can't take a photo and send to you. Terrible. So I hope this helps to bridge the voices that are unheard, the voices in a watch that's away off the grid. I hope this helps to create synergies. I hope this helps to build trust, to stimulate action, and ultimately shape a rights respecting digital ecosystem in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Philip. We are going to be inviting our next speaker, but I would like to notify you that we shall be having a performance from a young man. It will be a brief performance from a young man called Soka. Personally, I've known him for 4 years, and yeah, so as I invite Judith, please prepare for that session where Soka is going to be entertaining us. Yeah, let me take this opportunity to invite Judith. Judith is the head of programs at the Center for Constitutional Governance. Yeah. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you very much, Hood, and thank you to all of you who've made time to be here. I also stand on the protocol already established. As you've been told, my name is Judith Hatim. I am the head of programs at the Center for Constitutional Governance. Mine is a very simple one. It's not going to take as much time. I am going to take you through what CCG does in line with promoting digital rights in Uganda. So just about CCG, like Dr. Sarah earlier told you, CCG was established in 2011 with the mandate of making the Constitution a people's document. So it delivers this mandate through a number of programmatic areas. One of them is the University Students Program, Constitutionalism and Rule of Law, Reclaiming the Civic Space, Promoting the Respect for Human Rights, Research and Documentation, as well as public interest litigation. Our vision is there. CCG's vision is to build a center that empowers citizens to fully utilize their constitutional rights and obligations so as to participate in their governance, promote constitutional governance, and defend the Constitution. And that's our mission, to promote constitutional governance through carrying out constitutional literacy campaigns and advocacy across East Africa. So when you work with CCG, everything revolves around the Constitution. Just a little bit of a refresher. What is the civic space? As we all know, it is that environment, whether it's political, legislative, social, or economic, which enables all of our citizens to come together, to share our interests and concerns, and to also act individually and as a group to influence and shape policy making. The civic space allows all of us to pursue multiple and many times competing viewpoints. And what are digital rights? That's an extension of human rights set forth in the UN Declaration for Human Rights, as we all know, except in this case, the digital rights plays out in the digital realm, the exercise of these rights, that is. They allow individuals to access, to use, create, and publish information freely, and in so doing, it allows all of us to enjoy and exercise our freedom of expression responsibly. So the threats to civic space, many times we see state intimidation. utterances by state actors. Sometimes we've had threats of, oh, you know, the state will kill you, we shall crush you, and so on. That's intimidation. We've seen arrests not too long ago, peaceful demonstrators protesting against rampant corruption in the country being arrested. A lot of times we see human rights defenders, activists, and journalists also being arrested. Those are all threats to the civic space. Torture during detention, again, the most recent cases of the arrest of the young peaceful protesters. We've had cases of how they were brutalized while in detention, some unfortunate cases of sexual abuse, sodomy, and so on. Those are all threats to the civic space. Kidnap and disappearances, I think every Ugandan fears the drone because you don't know what's going to happen when you see a drone appear anywhere. Physical harm, a lot of people have been maimed, have been severely injured. I think a few years ago we had cases of journalists. There's a journalist who was shot at some point in time when he was covering a demonstration. Another one had to undergo a lot of operations because his spine was severely damaged. Again, we're still talking about threats to the civic space. Now we move on to threats to digital rights. Surveillance. A lot of times you don't know who is eavesdropping on your conversation, especially if you're working on sensitive issues. I think CCG does a lot of that. If you are in the constitutional space, the governance space, human rights space, it is considered quite delicate for most actors in that space. It's fine. Thank you, it's a lot bigger now. Software, harmful software and malware, and some of the risks include leaking information, destruction of gadgets. Sometimes your computers just crash beyond repair. Those are some of the threats to your digital rights. Sometimes you've received threatening messages, or your phones or gadgets have been hacked. A lot of times we hear people's social media communications are being monitored, and then before you know it, you become a victim of threats, arrests, and so many others. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what are we doing as CCG when it comes to promoting digital rights in Uganda? So CCG has worked and engaged with partner organizations, of course, who share similar values and similar visions like Oxfam, in developing rights respecting governmental measures during national emergencies or crises. We've also worked to establish safeguards to minimize civic space risks induced by digital surveillance and other laws. CCG has also worked to strengthen compliance with Article 20, Clause 2 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights to ensure that hate speech provisions do not violate the freedom of expression. We've also worked to strengthen partnerships with new and traditional media to address hate speech narratives. Also, CCG has engaged with other civil society organizations, development partners, and other relevant stakeholders, including technology companies and investors in policy dialogues which are related to digital transformation and civic space, supporting mechanisms for civil society and other relevant stakeholders' feedback in the design and implementation of national digital strategies in partner countries. This is what we've done, and this is still what we hope to continue doing, because we understand very well that advancing the civic space, or expanding the civic space for that matter, cannot be done in silos. We cannot do it alone. We definitely need partnerships with like-minded organizations. So our digital rights work, one of our biggest platforms is the Civic Space TV, which is here. It's actually streaming live right now, and you're all on. If you go to YouTube, to the Civic Space TV page, you'll actually follow this, this conversation that's taking place here. So Civic Space TV is one of CCG's flagship digital platforms. It was launched in 2020, mainly to expand the civic space by providing a platform for citizens' engagement and to promote freedom of expression. That's the YouTube link. You could actually check it out if you're not on, and please subscribe. We're at 11,000 point something and counting. If you're not a member, you're really missing out. Please do join. So apart from the Civic Space TV, in the next slides, we'll actually be looking more broadly into the content that Civic Space is actually streaming in relation to advancing digital rights. So the other digital rights work we have done is the Civic Space Handbook. Unfortunately, we don't have a soft copy, but we're going to work on that. So the Civic Space Handbook is a very, very user-friendly manual, which is an awareness manual, a personal security toolkit, and we use it also for trainings. which was developed by CCG and partners like the Copyright Institute of Uganda and the Human Rights Network for Journalists in 2020. So actually much of my presentation is actually picked from the Civic Space Handbook. So we would encourage you to actually access this when we have more copies. We would actually love to share so that you could also maybe in your spaces use it for trainings and so on. So like Sarah earlier talked about the Civic Space app, yeah, CCG also developed that human rights tracking app which tracks violations of incidents in real time. So through these reports, we can actually reach out to victims of rights violations, and they can get the support they need, or we can link them to partners who can give them certain support that we cannot. So back to now the content that we air on Civic Space TV. The university debates is one of them. Just go back to the university, one slide back, please. So one of our programmatic areas, of course, is the university students' debates, where we engage young people to actually shape and expand the civic space. So in terms of digital rights issues, we've engaged university students in about 25 universities in the past, and this year we are also rolling out to the same universities, but of course on different thematic areas. So we've had a theme on digital rights, and they've had debates on those issues, the role of digital rights, emerging technologies, climate justice, the state of digital rights, and so on. And some of those are links that can actually take you to the conversations we've had with the students, and that tells you what we've been doing in that respect. So on Civic Space TV, we also have the Youth Roundtable, which hosts the youth, and the hashtag is always hashtag Youth Roundtable. You can also check it out online. We've also had discussions, several of them, around issues of youth and their digital rights, the impact of international wars on digital rights in Uganda, the digital revolution, and so on. We also work, well, CCG is an organization that believes so much in inclusion, so we don't want to leave anyone out. So we also have the Feminist Internet, and it has a link there. It also focuses on digital rights, but this time the focus is for women and girls. Feminist Internet, women empowerment, internet freedom, how do we protect the rights of women and girls, with a focus on constitutionalism and how laws affect participation and engagement of women in governance. So those are the aspects that we've worked on in the past, and we still continue to engage in those areas. So I want us to watch a small video. It's about 1.5 minutes about digital rights work. It's actually a short film that CCG produced with the support of Oxfam in the past. Just check the Internet Explorer link. Audio.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights have frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrest and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Thank you very much. So that's the video that was done 2 years ago. So if we're having this conversation today, just know this conversation is not about to end. There's still a lot, like Philip said, like Philip said earlier, I mean, navigating this digital tech space is quite a complex one. And there's definitely need for more engagements and more partnerships, more collaborations in this area. So I would say that is it from me, and thank you very much to each one of you for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Judith. I know we've had different speakers who have delivered on different points in relation to digital rights and digital technologies. Philip, in his presentation, made mention of a farm that is in Gulu. It's a farm we got to learn through the Resilient Livelihoods Manager, Mr. Charles Opio. And this is a farm for a gentleman called Richard. He has, chickens that he rears with robots and aided by artificial intelligence. So with our discussions, we were looking at some of the things we look at Oxfam, and that is automation and the future of work. How intelligent machines shifting our ordinary ways of work. And it was quite interesting. I know you might have questions or comments from what has been submitted, but as I promised, we are going to be having a presentation, a performance from a young man called Soccer. Now, I met Soccer about 4 years back. And the nature in which he was built sort of speaks to robotics and the intelligence of machines, though he's still operating crudely in a way. And from our interactions, I always remind him to dance on the floor and not on tables. But considering his stature, I would like Dr. Sarah and the country director of Oxfam to allow Soccer do some bad manners and dance on their table. And he's as small as my palm, so he's going to perform for you. You know, the way Soccer was built, and Soccer is a miser, so he wants to only dance on this table. Whoever wants him to dance for them, I don't know how they'll get to him. Yeah, so inside him, he has something called a cogwheel. Like the bicycle, that bit where chains run. Yeah, in a bicycle, that's called a sprocket wheel. So in such toys and such innovations, it's called a cogwheel. There are two wheels that come together and start running movement. So he has 3 cogwheels in him, and he operates once you turn them, and he starts dancing to whatever tune that you might play. Why I'm talking about a cogwheel is because we are talking about partnerships, and no cogwheel operates independently. It operates in partnership with other cogwheels. So for me, that is a cogwheel is a device that is very significant to me when it comes to partnerships and working together and collaborating. So his performance is going to be quite brief. He doesn't go for many hours. He doesn't want to tire himself. So here he is. Francis has said he's too smart. You have to turn him, eh? You're fueling the performance. Yeah, he's crude. He operates crudely. So he starts. That's a birthday performance for Francis and Charles. Now I have to redo him. Okay. So that was a birthday performance for Charles and Francis. This is it. And he's out. And this is a performance to all the previous speakers. Yes? I shift the bottles for the benefit of Charles. So his dance is alakalaka, as Francis has said. So yeah, thank you. At this point, let me take this opportunity to go on to the next item on our agenda. That is myself delivering on what the ReCIPE project is all about. From the previous speakers, we've got context from Oxfam's journey, from CCG's journey, and all other actors we've been working with in terms of digital rights and technology. So, the country director of Oxfam, the executive director of the Center for Constitutional Governance, CCG, Oxfam staff present, distinguished senior advocates present, representatives from the different civil society organizations, innovators, and creatives present. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You know, when I was making preparations for this inception, I was constantly thinking of a young Italian innovator called Guglielmo Marconi, who lived in the 1800s. And I was imagining the year in which he first invented sending the first telegram signal via radio. The year was 1895. That was a big contribution to digital transformation and to technology and to innovation at large. But, you know, while I was reading and thinking of the story of Mr. Marconi, I asked myself several questions. One being that did Mr. Marconi ever foresee that over a century later we would be conversing about something around transformative internet and the phenomenon of it and how it connects billions of people all over the globe? And my conclusion was that it was really unlikely that he could have imagined the vastness of what was yet to come over a century later. And realize that right now we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution has emphasis on terms like artificial intelligence, intelligent machines, intelligent learning, and all the key terms that you've been hearing lately about digital technologies. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and it is a time when words and concepts like automation, digital marketing, e-commerce, e-governance have become commonplace. But we also note that all this progress, through all this progress, we must ask ourselves certain key questions. Questions like, do we really understand the concepts? And more importantly, what are their contributions towards ensuring that these advancements lead to sustainable and meaningful lives for all people? And I think the ReCIPE project is speaking deeply into such transformations that we envision to come and that are already happening, transforming lives and shifting ways of work and ways of living. Today, as our distinguished speakers who have been here before me have enunciated the fact that we are launching the ReCIPE project, a project that embodies commitment to building a civic internet through partner engagement. You know, as it has already been stated, ReCIPE is an acronym that stands for recentering the civic internet through partner engagement. And it fittingly suggests a blend of ingredients that will contribute to creating a transformative, informative, and inclusive digital landscape in Uganda. In the earlier stages of the project, one of the first conversations that we had was around the question of what is your recipe? What is your favorite recipe when it comes to cooking? And at that time, we were talking about all these different ingredients. People talked about ginger. Since I'm not a very good cook, I spoke something that I'm familiar with. Immediately they asked me, what is your favorite recipe? I said Reiko. And that was it. But there are so many recipes in the world. Recipes that you can even never imagine. But this time we talk about a recipe that is digital, a recipe that is looking towards spicing lives of communities up transformatively and meaningfully. So the ReCIPE project sets its priorities on some key aspects. One being enhancing the capacities and capabilities of different stakeholders to engage actively in the digital rights debate, to create safer online spaces, and to reduce the digital divide. Now, you will realize that our digital penetration in Uganda is still quite low. And even when you think about Africa as a continent, there are still struggles when it comes to the digital divide. And it's really an honor for us to have a project that is looking towards addressing such key challenges in the landscape. And it also has a priority with a particular focus on gender equality in the realm of digital. The ReCIPE project addresses the need for greater access. Philip has told us of the challenges around access in our context. So the project comes to, in one or the other, provide a cushion in regards to access to digital rights and digital technologies. in the realm of gender and all other issues that are relevant. We look at priorities around amplifying voices and promoting dialogue among key stakeholders. Now you realize that in the room we have different players who are contributing towards the digital innovations, the digital economy. We have in the room advocates who are working around policy and all issues that are related to digital rights. It's an honor for us to have such key players in the room. In the room and on the project, we are having on board different players in relation to government institutions and entities. We have civil society organizations, and we have innovators among other key players. Today we also have the honor of having 3 innovators in the room who are going to be speaking to their journeys of innovation in Uganda, challenges and opportunities that they think are present in our context. Another priority of the ReCIPE project is that it looks at strengthening the role of civil society organizations in the digital development landscape by supporting them in advocating for policies that empower people and organizations, human-centered, sustainable, and more prosperous digital future. In this, it fosters synergies and establishes long-term linkages among all parties concerned and responsible. And it is our belief that with all the key players who are in the room and those that we are going to engage through the different activities that we are going to be doing, we shall create these synergies that will create meaningful transformation in the landscape. Yasmin, do you speak Chinese? At this point, I would like to pause a little and delve into a story that speaks to the spirit of what we are embarking on today. And it's a story about the Chinese philosopher. Why I asked whether someone speaks Chinese in the room is because his name is, I pronounce it as Lao Tzu. And Dr. Sarah knows a lot of philosophy. So I don't know whether my pronunciation of the philosopher called Lao Tzu is correct. Yeah, but why I'm bringing in Lao Tzu is because of what he said about journeys and steps people take, and the steps that people take towards transforming their societies. And this has become a common adage that people often use, which says that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Are we familiar with that? But you know, while I was reflecting deeply on this saying, I realized that its significance goes beyond the obvious. It is not just about beginning a journey, but about understanding the interconnectedness of every step that we take. In our context, every decision we make in the digital realm, every policy we advocate for, every partnership we foster, is like a step on this long journey of digital transformation. I noted that it is a vast web of interconnected lives, ideas, and possibilities. When we talk about the internet and digital rights, we are talking about the very fabric of our modern existence. Just as Lao Tzu emphasized the importance of harmony in all things, is so too much that we strive for harmony in our digital ecosystems. So that brings me back to the core of the ReCIPE project. We are not just implementing a project. We are weaving a tapestry of connectivity, rights, and empowerment. Each thread in this tapestry represents the individuals and communities that will be impacted by our work. Our aim is to create a digital landscape that is not only inclusive, but also just, where every person, regardless of their background, gender, or economic status, can thrive. So the ReCIPE project has certain key objectives and targets. And among the targets are the groups that we are going to be working with throughout the entire project life cycle. And among them, as I earlier mentioned, are government entities, civil society organizations, actors in the legal sector, media, tech and telecommunication companies, and the communities that we serve. By focusing on these groups, we aim to achieve several objectives, including the cultivation of a rights-respecting digital ecosystem that is value-based and collaborative. Among the specific objectives of the ReCIPE project is to amplify voices of men, women, youth, and children, and all members of the society in spaces that shape the digital ecosystem. Our goal is to influence and codify policies and legal frameworks that protect and promote their rights. Among the key activities within the project, we are going to be rolling out both in-person and virtual training sessions. We are going to be fostering strategic partnerships. We shall be facilitating roundtable discussions with the decision makers and advocating for policies and practices that empower all actors, especially in the context of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. I would like to note that as we stand on the threshold of this project, I'm reminded of the words around cybersecurity and more. So in this spirit, I call upon all of us, partners and all stakeholders, to join in this journey as we stride through. I call upon all of us to work together to ensure that the digital future that we are building is one that is inclusive, empowering, and sustainable for all. In conclusion, as we look ahead to reflections around what the legacy of the ReCIPE project will be or is going to be at the end of its life cycle, let us envision a Uganda where the digital divide is narrowed, where digital rights are upheld, and where every individual has the opportunity to fully participate in the digital economy. And I believe this is not just a vision for the next 3 years, it is a vision for the future that we want to create for generations to come. I want to conclude by re-emphasizing the importance of all these continuous meaningful engagements that I believe will help us create a digital future that will be sustainable. I think we should also remain vigilant in our dealings, proactive and united in all efforts towards shaping the landscape that I believe will benefit all humanity. So I want to thank you all for your attention, and I believe your commitment towards digital rights and digital technologies will forever remain unwavering. Thank you all for your attention. Yeah. Yes, now that concludes my session, and me being the MC, I remain standing. So, I would like to invite the innovators present, but I think before I do that, if from the participants we have reactions, you realize that from the previous speakers, we've laid out the work that has been done by Oxfam. We've given perspective on work that our partners like CCG have done in relation, and are still doing, in relation to digital technologies and digital rights. So at this point, I would like to open the floor to participants. Whoever might have a question, a reaction, a comment, we can use this moment to reflect on that. And then from there, I'll be inviting the innovators who are here present and the creatives present to tell us about how they are finding the landscape and the contributions that they are also making. They will be led by Jasper, who will be coming in after that. So is there, do we have any questions? Comments?
Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Mercy Awino, and I am a lawyer by profession. Before I joined the National NGO Forum, I worked at the Personal Data Protection Office, and I think when we talk about stakeholder engagement for this particular project, because it deals very centrally with everything digital technologies, I think that's one of the offices that we need to develop very, very important partnerships with. Because, and I think when Mr. Philip Kabuye was speaking, he talked about the UK and the Online Information Act that he was talking about. So in Uganda, we also have a regulatory framework that addresses most of the stuff that we do online. We have the Data Protection and Privacy Act that was enacted in 2019, and its regulations that were also enacted in 2021. And this regulatory framework generally deals with how people use information, personal information, and you realize that in the landscape of digital rights, there is a lot of information that is actually used. When we talk about research, the principles of research and all that, it's something that's very, very central to this. So I think that the Personal Data Protection Office needs to be reached out to, and we need to see how to have a working relationship with them to ensure that online human rights defenders are protected, activists that do most of their work online are also protected. And I see on the concept that was given, there is an aspect of policy development. Whereas we have a regulatory framework in place that regulates most of the things that happen digitally, we also realize that there are so many shortcomings and there are certain things that our law has not yet actually gone ahead to cover. And so it's very important again that Oxfam, CCG, as you do your policy development work and influencing policy, look at the policy frameworks that we have currently and try to see how we can develop, how we can influence better policy in that. And also, again, the government is very good at, coming up with legislation. We have the Computer Misuse Act, for example, that regulates the use of all these technologies, computers and all. But how justiciable are these laws that are in place? And some of these laws are used to actually impede the enjoyment of human rights. So as we are dealing with digital rights, do we have an enabling environment for an activist, for example, to actually go, now like Stella Nyanzi and Kakwenza, so as they're doing their online activism, how safe are they? Will we use another arm of the law to, impede on their rights? And for many others, now we have the march to parliament, and I understand that phase 2 is happening today. Some have just been arrested. But as a person that has been very actively involved in the online activism, some of my colleagues have received threats, because of their online use of social media and all these digital technologies. So as Oxfam, as CCG, is there any specific thing that we are focusing on to help these online human rights defenders who might not necessarily be out on the streets, but they are tweeting from the safety of their homes, and this also attracts some sort of danger to them? So that's all that I wanted to say, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've taken note of an issue around data protection.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Andrew once again. I have a number of issues, but then I was also touched by Mr. Kabuye's presentation. Somewhere you posed the question, how safe is our data? And I remembered something. I want to ask you, though Financial Intelligence Authority is established by an act of parliament, but then I also want to ask, and we were ready to oblige, but how safe is our data, that data we give to FIA? That is my one question to you. Then now going to your presentation, Mr. Hood-Luvowa, you also raised a number of issues, and I actually agree with you, totally agree with you that our digital penetration in Uganda is still very low. And if you go by Kepsio's analysis, it indicates that at the start of this year, the penetration stood at 27%. And we all are aware that we have a number of challenges, including limited digital literacy, cyber security threats, infrastructure gaps, and all that. So now my question is that, don't you think we need to first go deep to the core and address those issues? Then lastly, I also wanted to touch on the digital divide. I feel that what brings about the digital divide is solely on what should I say, the unreliable supply of electricity. And that also needs to be addressed. Also, when we talk about the digital divide, we are here. Most of the times we forget about our friends in the rural settings. And it's also very important to also consider them, because like I've told you, the major issue here underlying is access to reliable electricity. And we are very aware that most of the people, even including here in urban settings, not very far away, are not able to access electricity. Thank you. I think that's what I wanted to raise for now.
Okay, thank you. We have 1, 2, 3.
Yes, thank you so much, moderator, and everyone that did make a presentation. Firstly, before I go to my comments, I wish to express my, and Doctor, maybe before you can step out, that first of all, fruits of the work of CCG. Yes, my first interaction with CCG was actually when I was freshly out of law school. That was around 2020. And it was a training for emerging and continuing activists. And they did quite shape, my interests in civic space, and here I am. Now, delving into my comments about this, I'm very happy for the ReCIPE I've embarked on. And I'm glad that we are going to be working on quite a number of issues. I work for Women of Uganda Network. I will be very keen and interested in knowing, first of all, how we are going to work together in regards to solving the issue of unregulated use of AI. It has been spoken about over and over again. I saw on the list, on the agenda, we have some members of parliament that are coming in. I believe politicians are going to be some of the most affected groups of people, civil society actors, because of the deep fakes and all. There is going to be quite a lot of misinformation, and I will draw our attention to now, for example, the EU, which already has a law that has been passed on the on the use of artificial intelligence. I believe some of us who have looked at this law, and I also wish to interest all of you to take a look into that law, and we see perhaps what lessons can we learn from that and what can work specifically for us as Uganda. And then I also wish to again share the same line of thought with my colleague who talked about how safe is our data. Yes, the mere fact that we have laws like the Regulation of Interception of Communications Act, which greatly gives some of these state agencies the power to actually intercept some of your communications for certain purposes that they always say are to the advantage of the public, the greater public. So we will be delving more and deeper into how best can we define when they access this information, for what purpose are they accessing this information, and at what point must they actually delete, or they have been talking about the right to be forgotten. At what point must they in actual sense clear out this information? And then finally, I hope going forward we also have perhaps some participants from some of these big technology companies. Talk about the likes of Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be Google, it could be Mozilla, all these companies, because I'm looking at the fact that they have the money, but oftentimes we have complained about the fact that they have failed, especially in the context of Africa, to onboard content regulators. So you come across content on the internet that is going to deteriorate and attack the enjoyment of other people's human rights. But if they had perhaps employed content regulators, I can assure you, if you post information that is degrading and abusive in Uganda, it will continue to appear on the internet simply because they have not invested into content moderators in Uganda. So that is one of the issues that also hope, as the project goes on, we shall be able to address. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for the insights from the presenters. Mine was is where one of the presenters said that the internet penetration in Uganda is at around 13 million people. And going by the recent UBOC results that puts Ugandans at around 46 million, it's very worrying. So this program is very timely, but my issue is, even if the internet is available, I wanted to pose this maybe to the minister. I don't know whether he's on the way. I wish the politicians could debate about the gadgets of accessing internet are still also very expensive. Politicians have to find a way, maybe in parliament, to see how they can reduce taxes on maybe these gadgets that enables one to access the internet. Like an average phone one has to part away with maybe 1 million. Good phone has to part away with more than 1 million, which is very expensive to many of Ugandans compared to other statistics that normally comes out saying that few Ugandans earn $1 million a month. So my issues on gadgets, how do we find policies that reduces taxes on these gadgets that enables one to access the internet? But otherwise, the situation is very worrying. If 33 million can't access the internet in Ugandans, if I'm to go by this presenter's statistics, where he said that only 13 million are accessing internet, is very worrying. Essentially, 33 million of fellow Ugandans are living in a medieval era, or that era of hunting and literally. That's my take. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's receive 2 more and we react to them. Yes. I'm going to come back. So let me give Beatrice here.
Good morning once again. My name is Kaiga Beatrice from Internet Society, Uganda chapter. Yes, we've spoken about the digital divide and how we can bridge the digital divide. And one of the issues, he tried to kind of hint on it, is the issue of skilling. Many of the people within the rural communities, or even within Kampala itself in the urban areas, would require skilling on how to use the internet, on how to use the computers, even the basic smartphones that they have. You'll find that most women or young boys and girls within the urban centers or in the slum areas can have access to a smartphone, but they don't know how to harness the technology on these smartphones for economic empowerment. So one of our request would be that Internet Society Uganda chapter could be okay to offer that kind of digital skilling to whichever community that CCG or Oxfam would like to be skilled. And then also this is very fundamental because the digital transformation roadmap for Uganda, which was unveiled last year, one of the key pillars, which is pillar number 4, was basically on building a society that is agile enough to adapt to the emerging technologies. So I think that is one of the things that we should take into consideration. And again, on the side of policy and law, last week I hosted the first ever parliamentary internet governance forum where we spoke to the parliamentarians about the importance of inviting civil society to teach them about the issues of the emerging technologies, because in civil society we hold most of this knowledge. We have the expertise to deal with the emerging technologies, and therefore it would be very important for us to always involve them in our conversations, in our day-to-day conversations, because one of the issues they expressed was that yes, we are available to talk about these issues, but we lack the knowledge. So maybe in our next meetings we should always invite them, because they are willing to learn. They're like, equip me with that knowledge. I'll go to the floor of parliament and debate to my very best. So I think it's very important for us to include them in such conversations next time. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Mine is a question for ReCIPE, and it's built on partnerships, right? My question is to the effect of, is ReCIPE considering partnerships outside of our local jurisdiction? The reason I ask this question is when you're talking digital security, you're talking digital literacy, digital rights, there is areas in digital security that we may not be able to handle ourselves, but other organizations outside of our jurisdiction have handled these matters or have knowledge of these matters. And they may be able to, one, offer support, two, offer training, or three, offer funding for any kind of this type of work. So my question is, have you considered partnerships outside Uganda or with other civil societies, for example, In Hope, that is highly invested in the civic space and digital security, yes? And on top of this, one of my other issues is when you're considering partnerships and everything, as David earlier mentioned, we have these big players, the technical community players, who, because Africa is a minority group, they don't invest much in content moderation and so on and so forth. However, you have the fact that most of our data breaches go through social media platforms. This is where most of us get hacked. You have my Instagram got hacked, or my, I don't know, my, Facebook got hacked and whatever. So if we could have conversation, if we could have partnerships, yeah, with these kinds of people, then I feel like it would broaden the project, broaden our horizons when it comes to data security, when it comes to data rights and protections and all that. So for me, it is in the line of partnerships. How broad are our partnerships?
Yes, we have 3 other questions, but I think, Philip, we can respond to these, right? I'll begin with, Yasmin, you like asking difficult questions, eh? But I'm happy that this one is not difficult. Yeah, so, yes, we are working, the project is not only centered here, it's in, across other jurisdictions. So we are expanding partnerships in that way. So you realize that the partnerships stretch across different players in Africa, different countries in Africa. So it brings them on board in that regard. Someone made mention of the digital divide, and yeah, we've all appreciated the challenges that we have in digital technologies. Access is an issue. We appreciate the fact that we have very supportive laws that are in place and policies. We have the Ugandan National Broadband Policy, which looks at extending and spreading the internet penetration all over Uganda. But you realize that one of the key issues we always talk about, the key concerns, is the implementation. Implementation that can come due to different issues, staffing, funding, and all. So yes, we believe the challenge of access is present in our context, but through the project we are in one way or the other laying a brick onto the work that is being done towards making digital technologies more accessible. Philip, you have a response?
Thank you, Hood. Just a bit of reactions and reflections. If we could stand up to welcome our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Chris Waliomonsi. Amen. Thank you, and you're welcome. Just to to reflect a bit, Hood, on what has been reacted to. I didn't get the name, but thank you. Yes, the Data Protection Office was constituted, and that is right. One of the things I loved was towards the institution of the office, there's a public discussion about the law, the office, the mandate, and I just don't feel like they responded to all my questions. But that was a great step. And still, that's part of regulation, which we really appreciate. And but also, the other side of the discussion was, while we appreciate all this happening, how is the regulation done? And that's why our conversation today is so focused on bringing together all the different stakeholders. How do we meet each other halfway? And how does this at least bring out all the voices that have been silent because of very many other factors, divide, and so on and so on. And my friend here asked a question that I will also relate back to the other one, on how safe is our data. You know, safety is two-way, but I'll give you an example. I won't avoid it. There is a radio program, I think it's in the US, and they do prank calls. You set up your friend for a prank. And on this one, the guy calls this lady and tells her they are calling her from a grocery store, and there's going to be a discount for their top clients, and she's one among the 10. So she's so interested in this. And then the guy's like, and for a moment, I'll need your social security number. And she was like, okay, sure. She shares a social security number. And then he's like, and maybe your credit card number too. You know, we want to make sure that whoever comes is the one. And she's so excited about the sale. She gives out her credit card number and then goes on to ask. And then she's like, is there anything else you might need? The guy's like, yeah, how do you log in online? Yeah, of course, I do. Do you use your credit card number? Yes, I do. And we might need the password too. Okay. And she said the password, actually. I remember it was something diamonds and so forth. And then later on, the guy says, your friend Katie set you up. This is a prank. And she's like, oh, so you mean there is no sale? The guy's like, no, we're just pranking you. Katie said, you're so gullible, you can easily share out your personal information and you don't care. And you just gave us all your bank details and everything. And she says, oh, okay, so what you're trying to tell me is the sale is not realistic. And the guy is like, yes. So do you learn anything from this prank call? He's like, yeah, people are putting up fake sales. But either way, they will put up a sale. One will be coming soon. Nothing totally about her personal information. Nothing. And she had shared every bit on this radio. Now, so that's the interest around this being two-way. So it starts from an individual. And then what else? So the whole aspect why we're discussing about the regulations and how is regulation done, and bringing into some examples of other regulations outside, when we talk about things like data autonomy, data anonymity, the right to be forgotten and everything, we also want to check the bit on compliance. How are we checking compliance as a country? We have the Personal Data Protection Office instituted, But how far do we go with checking compliance beyond us internally as a country? Compliance of the tech companies. When we have the laws, I think compliance would be key. And these are aspects that we want to sit down and discuss to make sure that at least we can meet each other halfway. And maybe, to conclude, some of the things ReCIPE is going to start with is going to be a baseline study. And this baseline study is going to have several stakeholders pitch into this. So when we talk about the policy briefs, the policy influencing, the policy discussions that we want to have with other stakeholders, we want them to be informed by this study. This study should be able to tell us the laws we have as a country, how constitutional are they. We should be able to have voices from the communities out there that won't be part of these rooms or are normally not part of these rooms, from other CSOs, but also the activists, then the security, the ministry, and then all the agencies, NITA, what are our telecos saying, Airtel, MTN, and the likes. So we do hope that this baseline will inform a rich report that we can then use as a benchmark to inform these discussions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Philip. We had a question here.
Sorry to come back again. Madam Judith Atim, thank you for your presentation. I just remembered something important, and I'm one of the followers of the Civic Space TV, and the work you're doing around youth engagement is really commendable, and the women. But then you also talked about you developed a human rights app, tracking app. So I want to interest everyone here in a group which I call should be added to the marginalized group or the interest group. If you've been observant, there's a group of people who are affected so much, and those are the people who are landless. Of late, you can see what has happened in Chitezi. This number is increasing each and every day, and I believe their human rights also matter. So I want to interest Dr. Bailete and the team to also engage that group, the landless people. It is becoming the group is increasing each and every day, and their rights also matter. They are being displaced each and every day. Thank you very much.
Okay, Judith wants to react to that.
Thank you very much for the feedback. We've taken note of it, and it's something that we'll definitely be interested in looking into. We believe the rights of everyone should be respected, and I think it's something we shall really focus on and follow up on.
Yeah, thank you, Judith, and everyone who has contributed. Now we do realize that we do have the minister present. I'd like to note that it's an honor for us to have Dr. Chris Baryomunsi present. And welcome, Doctor. Yeah. Beatrice, I would like to briefly react to what you pointed out. And Yasmin, you were also having concerns around tech and telecommunication companies. In the submission that I earlier made, I mentioned the fact that among the key people we are going to be collaborating with are these groups of entities. So tech companies, telecommunication companies, and media companies. Yeah, so we believe there will be key players in spicing up the recipe. Yeah, Beatrice, you mentioned the IGF. IGF is the Internet Governance Forum. I had the benefit of participating in the recently concluded one. It was the National Internet Governance Forum that is spearheaded by Beatrice and her team. And I should reflect that we had very fruitful discussions around the emerging technologies, around the entire digital landscape and the digital economy as it is. So I understand there were conversations with the Uganda Parliamentary Internet Forum, yes. There were also conversations with the Youth Forum on Internet, and so many other conversations. And in September, the East African Internet Governance Forum is upcoming. So thank you. Thank you. Philip just has one more issue to address. Thank you all for your submissions and for your reactions. At this point, I would like to invite Judith, the Head of Programs, Center for Constitutional Governance, to take us through the next session. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you very much, Hood. And thank you once again. It's a pleasure to be here. Our guest of honor, the Honorable Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi. You're most welcome, sir, to this event. We're really happy to have you here with us. This is the ReCIPE Project Inception in Uganda. Just to take you through what has transpired in your absence, we had an overview of what ReCIPE is all about. We shared, we heard from the CCG Executive Director about details of CCG and its engagements with partners in terms of expanding the civic space and so on. We also heard from the Country Director of Oxfam, Mr. Francis Shantu Dahorach, about also Oxfam's work and its interest and why it feels the civic space and the civic internet in particular is very important in terms of advancing and shaping our governance landscape and the issues therein. We had an overview of Oxfam's digital rights work in Uganda, which was by the Policy Advisor, Digital Rights and Space, that's Mr. Philip Kabuye. And an overview of the ReCIPE project in Uganda by Mr. Hood Luboa. But just briefly, I'll just give you a summary of what ReCIPE is about. So ReCIPE is an abbreviation which translates to Recentering the Civic Internet through Partner Engagement. It is a project by Oxfam, and CCG is a partner that Oxfam has actually chosen to work with and walk this journey with them. So ReCIPE is a digital rights project supported by the EU. It's being implemented by Oxfam in partnership with Oxfam country offices and their partners in 10 countries. That is Ireland, Uganda, Kenya, Senegal, Tunisia, El Salvador, Somalia, Bolivia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. In Uganda, Oxfam and CCG are jointly implementing this project. It's running for 3 years. Honorable Minister, the purpose of this project is to safeguard and promote digital rights in the evolving technological landscape. It focuses on advocacy, research, capacity building, policy development to ensure equitable access and use of digital technologies and protection of online freedoms. The action of this project will target mainly 5 groups, that is civil society organizations, civic activists and human rights defenders, communities and civil society representatives or members, tech companies, and government authorities. The project goal, Honorable Minister, is to cultivate a rights-respecting digital ecosystem that is values-based, human-centric, and safe for civil society actors and human rights defenders. It has a number of objectives. One is to increase collaboration between the Global South and the Global North to create vibrant and safe online civic spaces. The second objective is to promote digital rights mechanisms and policies that make governments and corporate actors accountable. Thirdly, it is to foster equitable access to safe and secure online social and political activities. So some of the activities, Honorable Minister, that we shall be looking at during this 3-year journey is one, co-creating and rolling out in-person and virtual training with CSO partners on topics related to digital rights. Also, we would work to provide resources to operate in digital space securely and safely. Thirdly, we shall be looking at ways of fostering the partnerships between digital rights actors in the Global North and CSO partners in the Global South. We shall also work to facilitate roundtables and forums connecting CSOs and human rights defenders with decision makers. That includes government and tech companies in the digital arena. And the other activity will be conducting capacity building training and workshops on digital literacy, digital security, and content discernment with target groups. We shall also work with partners to ensure accurate information and reliable tools of digital security and safety are made available in a localized and context-appropriate manner. Honorable Minister, the government of Uganda, through your Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, in 2023 launched the Digital Transformation Roadmap to speed up Uganda's digital revolution by strengthening the implementation of enabling policies. One of the benefits of this transformation is to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in government services. At CCG, we believe that this efficiency and effectiveness can best be realized when we empower citizens with the digital skills and teach them their digital rights so that they can exercise their civic duty of holding the government accountable in every aspect. The activities we shall implement under ReCIPE, Honorable Minister, are geared towards realizing this. So ReCIPE is supported by the following pillars: digital skills, which focuses on building a digitally enabled society that is agile and able to adapt to emerging technologies and trends, promotion of digital literacy and ICT professional development for current and future industry needs. Also, the other pillar is cybersecurity, data protection, and privacy, which encompasses the provision of digital services that are safe, secure, protected, and trusted when in use. Honorable Minister, this is a brief summary of what ReCIPE is about. And may I now invite the Country Director of Oxfam, Mr. Francis Shantiudohorach, to come over here and welcome you to the podium, sir. Thank you.
Judith, the way you pronounced my name was so original. Thank you, Afoyo Matek. Many people start by murdering my name by calling me something else, and it can mean something else. So I really appreciate you. Honorable Minister Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, the Minister of ICT and National Guidance in the Cabinet of Uganda. I also learned very reliably that you also represent the people of Kinkizi East constituency in Kanungu district in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, that we have had a lot of interest about them recently. I'm sure you will also clarify a few things around there. Honorable Minister, I also learned that you are the vice chairperson for the ruling NRM party in Western region. I also learned very reliably that you escaped being in Mulago Hospital serving people as a medical doctor because you advanced your study to attain a PhD in public health, and thereafter you've never looked back in serving the people. So we're really honored to have you today as we are here at the inception launch of this very exciting project, which is recentering the Civic Internet through Partnership Engagement Project, ReCIPE. Honorable Minister, in the House, we have, I think next to you, I'll start with that, Dr. Sarah Birete, who is my sister from another mother. She's the Executive Director for Center for Constitutional Governance. And I also must add that she is a very deep analyst and a very strong believer in democracy, and has also been monitoring a lot of elections around Africa and around the world. And I know that she holds a very high position there. But I think that is not the interest today. The interest today is about ReCIPE. We also have representatives from various civil societies organizations that are here. We also have colleagues who are innovators and creatives that are working very closely with CCG. We do have staff and colleagues from CCG who works together with Sarah, and we have colleagues from Oxfam. In the House, we have various media houses, and I must also add, Honorable Minister, that in partnership with Oxfam and CCG, we invented this Civic Space TV, which has gone in a long way in expanding spaces, providing opportunity for youth, women, and other underprivileged groups of people to engage in a very transparent and respectful way as well. So we are live on that channel as well. I think I recognize everybody here present and all those who are online. Good morning. I hope it's still a morning. I am excited, again, on another note, Honorable, that today is my very good birthday. I should have had a cake to cut, but my dear wife has said, you dare not do that outside there without me. I also have a colleague who is called Opio Charles, with whom we are sharing a birthday today. He's seated right behind there. So I will not take a lot of time, but I also thought that I would share with you, Honorable Minister, that this project is very important for us, especially around the fact that it looks at digital transformation. As you know, a lot of conversation has been going on that it's the new oil of our time. But unlike the oil that we all know, which fueled the Industrial Revolution, digital transformation is a renewable one that can continually power the revolution of societies, economies, and individuals. In an era where the internet and digital tools have become integral to daily life, I think on our table you will see that there are very many gadgets that are connecting us with the world. This project aims to ensure that these technologies serve the public good and that the voices of all citizens are heard in the digital space. I remember my aunt who cannot write her name on a paper, but she can pronounce her name. I always find it difficult to say that she is illiterate. She's very knowledgeable. But when I bring her in terms of how she can engage with the digital era, that would be a big challenge for her. It's a big mountain. And this is a big issue for us, that in the conversations before you came, there was a lot of discussion around how can we close the digital divide that exists in the world, but also in our country, to ensure that the inclusivity that we want to see can be achieved. Before you came, Honorable Minister, there were questions that were being raised by members here, and they asked questions around digital security and data safety. And there are a lot of concern, of course. And I think this project comes at a point where we will be engaging a lot with key stakeholders such as tech companies and media houses as such, but also ensuring that communities can be empowered. But I think above all, the partnership with your ministry will be key, and also the personal data protection officers. Because as we know in this country, so many people, sometimes because of lack of knowledge, can easily fall prey to these kind of risks. There were also concerns on the floor about the online human rights defenders' protection. How can we ensure, as we continue to advance in this digital era, that the rights of these categories and many others can be protected? A lot of conversation has been around artificial intelligence. I learned also from here that there is a brother of mine from northern Uganda who is running a farm which is operated by artificial intelligence, and they are producing excellent products. In that farm, I am told that the robots are feeding the chicken, and there are no human beings. So I'm wondering, my aunt, who would have found a job there, how are we thinking about such people? Because we cannot stop this progress, it has to go on. But how do we ensure that the people who will fall off from this advancement can also continue to thrive in this context? So there are lots of questions as we continue to understand. Not only that, I used the point at the beginning of introducing you as a member of parliament deliberately. A member from the floor here mentioned that AI has presented opportunity for a lot of mis and malinformation that will go a long way in impacting negatively on a lot of influential people, leaders, and politicians. So with this era of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, how can we continue to protect and as well expand the civic space in a responsible way? I think these are some of the questions that were coming from the people as you will be coming to address them. There were also concerns around, how much we can regulate, but not also over-regulate the spaces for digital, so that we are able to still operate well. And then finally, there was a conversation around digital skilling. How can we bring on board the people who will need to have the right skill? The lady who was seated behind me was telling me that it is very possible that some of us who were not born around this time, we can be left behind, and yet we are occupying very key offices. We could be the judges, and we have no idea how to deal with this digital world. And therefore, there will be an escape route there of talking about, there was an error there, and yet it will have a huge implication on people. So how can we ensure the digital skilling encompasses all categories of people?